Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and a galactic astrologer. This video is a galactic astrology reading of the Gemini New Moon at 24 degrees 3 minutes on June 14th, 2026. Welcome. What I do in these videos, I put an outer layer of fixed stars, celestial bodies, and galactic points to the traditional Western tropical astrology wheel. And that is to help us expand into a multidimensional perspective, not only of the collective energies, but also personally. I welcome you to this video. What you'll receive in this video are 3 energetic themes that I've pulled out from the New Moon chart, and also questions at the end, should you want to integrate this new moon some more. I also will have a little segment on my new business offering at the very end of this video. So if you're curious, stay on all the way to the end. Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments Reference Guide. There is a link in the pinned comment and description box below. There's also a download for the business offering, and I'll guide you to go to my business page on my website and download that freebie there for the business offering. The Gemini New Moon at 24 degrees is conjunct the Orion constellation and the fixed star Meissa at 24 degrees of Gemini as well. So it's a pretty exact conjunction there. And the ruler of this new moon is Mercury. And Mercury is at 18 degrees of Cancer, conjunct the Lyra constellation and the specific fixed star Lyra Cheliac at 18 degrees of Cancer as well. And we'll talk much more about that in Energetic Theme 1 coming up. And I also want to highlight that from June 5th here, we just have the minor grand trine in closer orb now. And what I'm talking about is the minor grand trine between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And we have been out of orb for the minor grand trine. I work with the orb of 3 degrees, so that's what I'm considering in orb. But now we have this minor grand trine in orb all the way from now to January 2027. So the second half of 2026 here. And what this means is that there is collective transformation available to us now. So whatever happens within us and on the collective stage is likely going to be a evolutionary shift. And that is a background frequency that we are now working with from June 5th to all the way to January 2027. What we will also talk about in this video is that there is a second minor grand trine in this chart. And that is Venus forming a minor grand trine with Uranus in Gemini and Neptune in Aries. And this is a really interesting formation that forms a basket. So we're going to talk about that in Energetic Theme 2 coming up. And before we take a look at the Gemini New Moon chart, I'd like to share what the energetic themes are. The first theme I've called Heart Discernment. And here, of course, we're going to talk about the new moon some more, the Orion-Meissa conjunction, and also take a look at when Mars is going to be in this vicinity, which is later this year. The second theme is a glimpse of the future. And here we're going to talk about Venus and her interactions at this Gemini new moon, which are plenty. And it's a minor grand trine, as I mentioned, but also a yod with the North Node involved as well. The third theme is ley line activation. And here we're going to talk about the ruler Mercury in opposition with Lyra Cheliac. And there's some interesting findings there about that as well. And also, if you're curious, the members only video is covering Saturn's conjunction with Salacia, Vesta, and Pallas Athene. And that members only video will be posted and available to Galaxy and Universe level members. And if you want to be a member of our YouTube channel here, you can click the join button on any video. It's a black little button that sits in association with each specific video here. So if you click that join button, you will be presented with 3 levels, and you'll find the members only videos associated with the Galaxy and the Universe level. So enjoy that. So this Gemini new moon is opening up to a new way that is unique and different. And many of us are already on this path, walking a unique path. But this is about deepening our communication and being the bridge between the universe and Earth. And this is emphasized here at this Gemini new moon. And I've called one of the themes here this time heart discernment. And that is really what I feel this path is all about, to going deeper with tuning into our heart frequency and listening to the messages that are coming through the heart frequency. And this may feel different. It's unique and different for many, but it in fact is a ability that we all have naturally. And one practical example of this is when we are living from our heart, we're also aligned with more harmony and flow. And that may also feel like, can it be really this good? And this is a feeling that is emphasized at this Gemini new moon, that we are invited to tap into more harmony and flow through listening to that heart frequency. And that can be difficult because often in human form, we may contradict ourselves when it comes to, can it be this good? No, it can't, right? And we all recognize that inner conversation about allowing ourselves to receive and allow things to come to us. We're under the impression most of the time that we have to struggle to get things. And that's a paradigm shift that we are now seeing being in place with that minor grand trine and the collective shifts that we're in. And this will, of course, continue as we move on to next year and beyond that. But the Gemini new moon here is really emphasizing the importance of tuning in to and relating to understanding our heart frequency as a guide rather than our logic, our mind, and problem solving abilities that we have relied on for so long. Because the essence of this Gemini new moon energy is really to be able to discern between the energy and guidance that comes through our heart and the energy and guidance, or at least the perceived guidance that we receive through the mind frequency. And if you want to dive deeper in this shift, I wrote a book, Wisdom Beyond What You Know, and that shift between mind to heart and intuition and living from the heart and what it takes, basically. And I share a lot of my own journey in that book as well, along with practical exercises that you can work through to go deeper with this heart frequency shift. So a link to my book is in the pinned comment and description box below. All right, let's dive into the Gemini New Moon chart next. The first energetic theme that I called heart discernment. So here we have the Gemini New Moon at 24 degrees, as you can see here, conjunct Orion-Meissa. So the new moon is conjunct a lot of fixed stars in the Orion constellation, but the Meissa is the one that's closest in orb. And also we have the ruler here, I've circled in green, Mercury at 18 degrees of Cancer. And what you'll find there, we're going to talk about in theme 3, Mercury's conjunction to asteroid Psyche and asteroid Stonehenge. And Mercury is in opposition with Lyra Sheliak there at 18 degrees of Capricorn. So this is where the focus is at this Gemini new moon. And here we have a image of the Orion constellation and a highlighted Meissa there. In addition to Meissa there, which is this fixed star that symbolizes the head of the Orion hunter. Betelgeuse and Bellatrix is the shoulder. Bellatrix and Betelgeuse are representing the shoulders, but Meissa is the head. And in addition to Meissa, we also have fixed star Alnilam, the Orion Nebula, and also Alnitak and Mintaka. All of those are in orb for a conjunction with the new moon here. So the Orion constellation is highly highlighted here at this time. And it was a while ago since we talked about the Orion constellation in any extent here. And I'm happy we're seeing it back because this new moon has a lot to do with how we can get back to remembering our heart wisdom and heart frequency. And the Orion constellation and Mesa in particular, is associated with discernment, and often also discernment of the future, and also the path to empowerment. And symbolically, the head here may also speak to a mental transformation. However, Mesa at 24 degrees of Gemini is in the third decan. So it is that bridge between the mental domain, the spiritual domain, and inviting us to come into balance with that energy, realizing that our potential is very much linked into how we come into empowerment, how we come into understanding more and relating to our soul essence, where our most pure energy resides, and as opposed to seeing ourselves as separate. And this is a big theme for this Gemini new moon. And I also want to highlight that between now and August 3rd, we have a little process around coming into this discernment through the heart. And I want to highlight Mars there at 20 degrees of Taurus. And Mars is going to travel to 24 degrees of Gemini by August 3rd, where we will see more of this action in our own lives around heart-centeredness or heart frequency and living from the heart. So this may be a process between now, mid-June to August, where we will have more of an activation and forward movement around this point of 24 degrees of Gemini conjunct Orion-Meissa. And also at this new moon, Mars is in a sextile with the ruler Mercury as well. So Mars and Mercury are in connection, and with Mars traveling forward, hitting the 24 degrees of Gemini point in August here, there is a exchange of messages around what this may mean for us, and will be ready to be put into action early August there. And with Mars conjuncting the Orion constellation, I'd like to give you some dates here, because as we know, Mars is going to activate each of these placements in Gemini come July and into August. And here's a little overview of Mars's journey conjunct Orion constellation. And at this time, we also will have Mars square Venus, which we will talk more about in another video. But this is a little guide for the dates when Mars is going to activate the Orion constellation. And if you recall, we had Jupiter expanding the Orion constellation alignments prior to going into Cancer. So if you go back to when Jupiter was conjunct Orion constellation, this is now when things are jumping into action. So Jupiter was conjunct the Orion constellation beginning in April 2025. So you may want to go back to what that generated for you, and now it's ready to step into action when Mars is conjuncting the Orion constellation. So we're asked now to go deeper with this heart guidance, the living from the heart and tuning into our heart frequency, because the discernment for our way forward is very much guided by our connection to the universe, and that happens through the heart frequency. So now we're asked to really step into the true guidance that the heart can provide us with. All right, let's take a look at the second energetic theme that I said, a glimpse of the future, next. So here we have the second theme that I've called a glimpse of the future. And here I'd like us to focus on Venus here at 1 degree of Leo now, in opposition with Aquila Altair at 1 degree of Aquarius. As you can see here in the chart, it is really Venus that is leading the pack. She is proceeding into Leo before anything else is hitting Leo. And she is in opposition with Aquila Altair. And as you may know, Aquila Altair is that eagle's perch, the big picture, the futuristic big picture that Aquila, the bird, the eagle, provides. And this is a call to balance our bigger perspective with our heart. Venus in Leo is very much our heart and connected to. So our bigger perspectives that are linked into the universal perspective and view is also a connection into our own physical vessel, and that is through the heart. And Venus is representing that connection here at this Gemini new moon. We also have, of course, Pluto in retrograde there in Aquarius at 5 degrees, not really an orb with Aquila Altair, but it's meant to be a permanent transformation. Pluto in retrograde is that inner transformation. So we have that opposition there for a reason, and Venus is leading the pack ahead. Now, she is also building a minor grand trine with Neptune at 4 degrees of Aries and Uranus at 2 degrees of Gemini there. And that minor grand trine, she is forming to connect with both Uranus and Neptune prior to coming into more exact opposition with Pluto, not yet at 5 degrees, as you see here. As you may see here is that Uranus is in square with the North Node and fixed star Fomalhaut. And let's take a look at Uranus and Neptune here. If we take a look at Uranus first at 2 degrees of Gemini in square with the North Node at 2 degrees of Pisces, conjunct Fomalhaut there at 4 degrees of Pisces. This square and T-square with the South Node, this is an important milestone for our direction forward, because Uranus square Fomalhaut is a opening to our guidance from the universe, and we are now guided to step into our heart, guided by our spirit teams, and allowing that to be our direction forward. So Uranus in square with the nodal axis here is an important alignment. And also the sextile to Venus here is very supportive of that divine feminine energy that is required to hear our own guidance. And if we look at Neptune at 4 degrees of Aries in opposition with the supergalactic center at 2 degrees of Libra, it's also a significant continued amplification of our own spirituality and how we relate to ourselves and others. Libra represents the 7th house, Aries the 1st house, and that axis of how do we understand our own spirituality, but also the collective and others' spirituality. The supergalactic center will help us to relate to that integration. So Neptune in opposition with the supergalactic center in trine with Venus here is all supportive. It's all supporting the receptive ways, the heart-centered ways that we are invited to adopt and embrace now, even deeper. So this minor grand trine between Venus, Neptune, and Uranus is significant. And if you notice here, we also have that minor grand trine, the collective minor grand trine, as I mentioned in the introduction, between Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus there. As you can see, all the blue lines there are building what we call almost a basket formation. Not exactly an orb yet, but it's a energy signature of something permanent forming and coming into stability, if you will. And Venus has a leading role in this forward movement, and particularly being ahead of everything else in Leo there. I also wanted to highlight, as a result of this, is the yod that we have pointing to the North Node conjunct Fomalhaut. And this is pretty much what we have talked about already, but I wanted to highlight that yod. Supergalactic center and Venus there is supportive of the direction forward, the North Node at 2 degrees of Pisces conjunct Fomalhaut. But Venus interactions are not done yet. Venus is in square also with Chiron at 29 degrees of Aries there, conjunct Andromeda Galaxy M31 and Andromeda Mirage at 0 degrees of Taurus. And this is an important square that is also guiding for the future. And if you notice, is at the culminating degree 29 degrees of Aries here. And what we can glean from this floor of the basket is that it's connecting Neptune with Uranus. And in between there sits Chiron, culminating a cycle of self-development, because the sign of Aries is our self-awareness and our evolution as an individual. On 19th of June is moving into Taurus, and that marks also a new energy signature for Chiron. It's more embodied, it's more focused on how we can come into more inner beauty and outer beauty simultaneously. So Chiron and Aries have provided us with a complete overhaul for many of us in terms of our inner journey and how we relate. It may look a lot different now as opposed to when Chiron entered Aries. So this journey is continuing, of course. We are now going to soon, very soon, step into a Chiron in Taurus, which is a much different energy, more embodied, less self-centered. But Taurus is ruled by Venus, so no wonder Venus is leading the pack here, right around the time when Chiron enters Taurus. We can also glean some more characteristics about Chiron in Taurus and what Chiron is here to do from the alignment in conjunction with Andromeda Mirage. Andromeda Mirage is about partnerships, realizing beauty, and also about inner strength and dedication, devotion. So these are going to be the lessons that Chiron is presenting each one of us to appreciate more, to embrace. And we will all have our own journey with Chiron in Taurus here for the next 8 years. So it feels like we're getting a little bit of a glimpse of the future with Venus's leadership here in Leo, and also her multiple interactions within the chart that gives us a feel for what is the energy that we are asked to lean on and embrace, which is very much the divine feminine receptive energy. This is also an energy that speaks to the heart. Venus in Leo is very characteristic of that energy, and the guiding energy of Chiron in square with Venus here is also a support for that shift into the Chiron and Taurus energy for the next 8 years. Andromeda Mirage also at 0 degree of Taurus is very much a Venusian type of energy. So we will likely be very focused on inner abundance and finding that partnership with the universe through the heart frequency, but also a partnership with each other in a new way at the soul level. So it's very interesting how Venus is leading us forward with that guidance here at this Gemini new moon. All right, let's take a look at the third energetic theme, ley line activation next. So here we have the third energetic theme that I call ley line activation. And here we're going to focus on Mercury's conjunction with asteroid Psyche and asteroid Stonehenge, to the degree at 18 degrees of Cancer, in opposition with Lyra Sheliak at 18 degrees of Capricorn. This is also guidance for us since Mercury is the ruler of this Gemini new moon. And we also have that sextile to Mars here that I mentioned earlier. So Mercury is giving us some messages around this. First of all, Lyra Sheliak is associated with an energy very much linked into nature, and also that space that we need to be able to come into balance, the solitude energy that we may find sometimes spending time in nature. That's very characteristic of Lyra Sheliak as a fixed star type of energy. And in opposition with Mercury and Stonehenge and Psyche here, it may also lead us to ley lines, because Stonehenge, as you may know, is a sacred site in the UK. And I have a little map so we can identify the location of this, but it's also on a specific ley line, an energy connector for Earth and how we are relating to energy and connection to the universe. And as if that wasn't enough, asteroid Psyche is also an indicative asteroid for psychic ability and psychic events. So taken together, this opposition is very powerful. And as the ruler of this Gemini new moon, there is strong guidance for us to spend time in nature and also find ley lines, find what ley line you're closest located to, because Earth is also getting activated at this time. We're not separate from planet Earth or Mother Earth. We are part of it. And Stonehenge, as a symbol of ley lines and the importance of our Earth's alignment, energy alignment as well, is significant, particularly at this Gemini new moon. And also, if you look at that sextile between Mercury and Mars, now Mars will travel into Cancer and be at 18 degrees of Cancer on September 9th, 2026. So it's also a little process here between now and September 9th, where we are also seeing more action, something coming into manifestation when it comes to this connection with the ley lines, connection with nature and Mother Earth, and activation of our planet. So that is very interesting to see. And in all of that is also our own evolution when it comes to our psychic abilities. So here we have a little map. If you don't know where Stonehenge is located, you can notice here the little pink star on the map there. And I have a picture of asteroid Psyche here and what she represents, with all the beauty that can be experienced through enhanced and expanded psychic abilities. So here we also have a image of the Lyra constellation, and particularly the fixed star Lyra Celiac there at 18 degrees of Cancer. And this connection with nature is going to also be very emphasized from now on in over the second half of 2026 and beyond. This is a significant highlight of Lyra Celiac, with Mercury in opposition, conjunct Psyche, and asteroid Stonehenge as well there. So yes, this time of year, mid-June 2026, it is a really important time to connect with nature, because the guiding energy also coming from the ruler Mercury and all the placements here around Mercury is a guide for us to embrace and really come into a harmony with nature and Mother Earth as a support. And I wanted to mention something about the members only video as well. So let's take a look at that. And here I want to highlight the members only video, the New Earth Way. In this video, I will highlight the conjunction between Saturn, Vesta, Salacia, and Pallas, all between 12 and 14 degrees of Aries, conjunct Andromeda-Alpheratz. This is a significant highlight of Andromeda-Alpheratz at this time, and will continue to be highlighted for the next 9 months. And we're going to go in depth into the reason for that in the members only video, because it's a very guiding energy that is very linked into the New Earth Way that is evolving. Saturn will be traversing these degrees also in a retrograde starting in July. So we will talk a little bit more about that in the members only video, and also what this energy signature of Vesta, Saturn, Salacia, and Pallas is, the guidance that we are receiving from that whole cluster of placements in the chart. So if you want to access this members only video, go to the black button that says join on it underneath the video here. And then you can choose either the galaxy or the universe levels. Both are having the full playlist of all the members only videos accessible to you. And we're going to talk about Andromeda-Alpheratz as well, and the highlight of Andromeda-Alpheratz as a significant star connection over this next 6 months and beyond. And Salacia, which is bringing a balanced, divine feminine, masculine, balanced energy. And this is an exciting topic to dive into. So I can't wait to share that members only video with you. So I have a couple of questions should you want to integrate this Gemini new moon energy some more. The first question is, how are you living through your heart? And that's a central theme in this Gemini new moon energy. And it's really a question of how can you let your mind, your logical energy, your energy of logic, your desire for problem solving, how can you take the next step in living from the heart? And this will be personal to each one of us, but it's speaking to that connection that we have with our own inner discernment and how we sharpen that sense. And often it happens through coming into more harmony and balance and inner peace so that we can hear our own guidance. So, what is your next step on your journey to living from the heart? The second question is, how is this basket, the minor grand trines that we see in the Gemini New Moon chart, how is that falling in your natal chart, and what houses are engaged in this basket? So you may want to plot this basket formation in your own natal chart. And if you're not into the charts and want to know the essence of this, the essence of this is how can you see the beauty in every day and expanding that into your daily life more. The third question is, what are the messages that are coming through when you are spending time in nature? Try that as a little experiment to give yourself an hour or less than half an hour in nature and just tuning into everything around you and see what comes through. I can't wait to hear what you experience. Share with me in the comments and share your experience there. Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments reference guide. There is a link in the pinned comment and description box below. And I promised, and I also mentioned something about a business offering. And if you're a business owner, either you're a solopreneur or you have a small company to medium company with, let's say, 3 to 10, 15 employees, this is for you. And if you're curious, stay with me for another 2 minutes or so, and I will talk a little bit more about my new offerings that I will be expanding over the next 6 months. Because this is also about moving from our self-centered Aries energy, where Chiron in Aries now at 29 degrees, into Chiron in Taurus, which is focusing on embodiment. And how does that relate to the business world? I see that there is a paradigm shift coming into more focus, and that is one of energy focus, energy alignment focus. And what does that mean? You probably know somebody that just feels like they're in the wrong place at work. Their gifts and talents are not fully utilized. And sometimes it may be hard to put the finger on that's really the case, that the individual energy is not aligned with the role or the company's energy. And that is the essence of this new business paradigm that I'm very passionate about. Because imagine if a group of people, let's say a group of employees, including the owner, were working in complete harmony with each other and knew each other's talents and gifts and know exactly how each person is contributing. And this is the essence of the work that I do with businesses, to help align individuals and the business to its full potential. And if you want to know more about it, I will be talking a little bit more about it in some videos, in some blogs. I also have a page on my website where you can explore And this is if you are a business owner, either a solopreneur or with, let's say, 3 to 5, 7 employees. This is perfect for you. And I can't wait to share some more about it. I'm just so excited. So don't be surprised if you see some additional videos or extended portions of these types of videos speaking to business owners that are now ready to move their businesses forward through energy alignment. And come visit my webpage, Ulrika/business. And I have some more information and also a freebie for you to download there in terms of how you can get kickstarted. So thank you very much for watching this video, the Gemini New Moon video with New Light Living podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and a galactic astrologer. I can't wait to come back with another video for you soon. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you and take care. Bye-bye.